Lesson 8 for February 13 to 19, Comfort My People, read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Sunday, February 14, Comfort for the Future. Our text for today is Isaiah 40, verses 1 and 2. Question: in Isaiah 40, 1 and 2, God comforts his people. Their time of punishment has finally ended. What punishment is that? Isaiah 40, beginning at verse 1. Comfort, yes, comfort my people, says your God. Speak comfort to Jerusalem and cry out to her that her warfare is ended, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins. There are many answers to this question. There was the punishment administered by Assyria, the rod of God's anger. We read about that in Isaiah chapter 10, from which God delivered Judah by destroying Sennacherib's army in 701 BC. We read about that in Isaiah 37. There was the punishment administered by Babylon, which would carry away goods and people from Judah because Hezekiah had displayed his wealth to the messengers from Merodach-Baladan. We read about that in Isaiah 39. And there was the punishment administered by one of the other nations against which Isaiah wrote messages in Isaiah 14 right through to 23. Meanwhile, though Assyria and Assyrians are mentioned 43 times from Isaiah 7:17 to chapter 38 verse 6, this nation appears only once in the rest of Isaiah, where Isaiah 52 verse 4 refers to past oppression by Egypt and then by the Assyrian. In the latter part of Isaiah, deliverance from exile in Babylon is mentioned in Isaiah 43:14, Isaiah 47:1, Isaiah 48:14 and 20, and it is Cyrus the Persian who conquered Babylon in 539 who is to free the exiles of Judah. We read about that in Isaiah 44 and verse 28. Who said to Cyrus, He is my shepherd, and he shall perform all my pleasure, saying to Jerusalem, You shall be built, and to the temple your foundation shall be laid. And Isaiah 45:1. Thus says the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have held, to subdue nations before him, to loose the armour of kings, to open before him the double doors, so that the gates will not be shut. And chapter 45, verse 13, I have raised him up in righteousness, and I will direct all his ways. He shall build my city, and let my exiles go free, not for price nor reward, says the Lord of hosts. Isaiah chapter 1 to chapter 39 emphasizes events leading up to deliverance from the Assyrians in 701 BC. But at the beginning of chapter 40, the book leaps ahead a century and a half to the end of Babylon in 539 BC, and the return of the Jews shortly thereafter. Question: is the theme of return from Babylon linked with anything earlier in Isaiah? If so, what? Isaiah 39 serves as a transition to the following chapters by predicting a Babylonian captivity, at least for some of Hezekiah's descendants, as we read in Isaiah 39, 6 and 7. Behold, the days are coming when all that is in your house and what your fathers have accumulated until this day shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, says the Lord. And they shall take away some of your sons who will descend from you, whom you will beget, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Furthermore, the oracles of Isaiah 13, 14 and 21 predict the fall of Babylon and the liberty this would bring to God's people, as we read in Isaiah 14 verses 1 to 4. But the Lord will have compassion on Jacob, and will again choose Israel, and will set them in their own land. When the Lord has given you rest from your pain and turmoil, and the hard service with which you were made to serve, you will take up this taunt against the king of Babylon. Notice the close connection with Isaiah 40, verses 1 and 2, where God promises his people there is an end to their suffering. And so, to finish today, what do Bible promises about the end of suffering mean to you now, amid your present suffering? What good would your faith be without those promises? Why then is it so important to cling to them no matter what?
Hi there. Thanks for watching this video on the Advent-band Ministries YouTube channel. Please subscribe and click the bell icon to be alerted whenever we upload new videos. So, until we meet him in the clouds, may God continue to bless you.
This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. It's supported by the Sabbath School Department and Hope Channel Australia, and is rebroadcast by Christian Record Services and through podcasts at It Is Written in the United States, Hope Channel Germany, and through Apple iTunes and SoundCloud. Remember, God is always faithful.